Today we're talking about Infinite Jest by David Foster Shit. I've just spilt tea all over myself. In this video we're talking about Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. We're not really talking about the book, we're talking about why I read over 1,000 pages of this book and 100 pages of footnotes, even though I didn't enjoy it. This is a cautionary tale. I'm sharing my mistakes in the hope that I can help other people avoid my mistakes and save 30 to 40 hours of their life. If you're going to summarise a 1,000-page book, I would say that, broadly speaking, this is a commentary on the role of entertainment in our culture. How easy it is to be entertained and how easy it is to not engage with the deeper themes of what it means to be alive nowadays. I think this is quite a difficult book to get into, certainly a very difficult book to enjoy, and I think it's deliberately made that way. There's over 100 pages of footnotes, like I said. The footnotes are at the back of the book, so that you're flicking towards the end and then flicking back again in some kind of motion that mimics the fragmentary nature of thought in our society or something like that. It also mimics a tennis match. Tennis is a theme in the book. Half of the book is set at a tennis academy, and so I think the writer quite liked that for that reason as well. If this kind of thing impresses you, then you'll probably be impressed by the book. I just found it irritating personally, although I can see why he did it. I suppose people could say that it's hypocritical and contributing towards the problem if he writes a book about these themes whilst being entertaining and easy to engage with. It's not really just a commentary on it, it's offering people an experience at engaging with something which is very difficult and which is often not fun, and persevering with it anyway. The result of this is that in some people's heads, and I fell into this trap by reading certain forums, reading about the book, you can equate finishing this book with having complexity and having depth. And if you don't finish the book, then that means that you're shallow or that you're part of the problem. It's quite dogmatic, I suppose, in that respect. And maybe this isn't the book's fault. Maybe this is more to do with the way people talk about the book and the meaning that the book has taken in certain people's heads. I certainly fell into it though. I wasn't enjoying this book. I carried on reading it though because in my head it felt like, oh God, I'm part of the thing that he's talking about if I bail out of this book. And it's really embarrassing to think about. It's very much a silliness on my part. My locus was very external in this particular situation. I wasn't trusting my own experience and realising I'm not getting anything out of this. This is absolutely rubbish. When I was reading this book, I referred to it as paying my penance when I'd say to my partner that I was going off to read it. I didn't really think about why I called it that, but maybe there's something deeper in that. As part of this video, actually, I was going to joke at some point that reading this is even more boring than the Bible, and I thought that was a funny little throwaway comment, but maybe there's more to it. The Bible is perhaps similar in the sense that it's not really meant to be enjoyed, it's not meant to be entertaining, but presumably for most people reading it, the purpose of reading it is more important than being entertained. I suppose what I dislike about this is that I think for some people, for me when I was reading it, it also took on this symbolic kind of meaning. Except this is just a novel. It's just a random book. I don't know why it's taken on this kind of meaning in my head and in seemingly lots of other people's heads, but I certainly got drawn into it, and I wasted a lot of time in my life over a couple of months reading something which frankly I didn't get anything out of. Certainly didn't get anything out of the reading of itself. I got maybe slight boasting points amongst certain people for finishing such a long book. For certain people that are aware of this mystique and this kind of symbolism around the book, most people, my partner included, just thought, what the hell are you doing with your life? Why are you pushing yourself to read some stupid book that you do not enjoy, that you've got very little out of, and you're just wanting to push through to the end? And it's probably some kind of insecurity on my part, something about being deep or being clever. There are other books that I like the idea of reading for similar kind of reasons, like Les Miserables, Ulysses, Gravity's Rainbow. There's something in my head about the idea of what that would mean about me if I've read these kinds of books. It's very, very silly, and it's a certain form of insecurity that I have, that I'm aware of though, and that hopefully I can, oh my days, that I can be aware of in future so I don't throw so much of my life away in the same way that I have done with this book. I think this book is even more dangerous than those other ones because not only has it taken on that kind of mystique where certain insecure people might persevere through it due to the symbolism of what it means in their head if they finish it. Not only that, but this book is actually specifically a commentary on the importance of engaging with things you don't always enjoy. And I think that especially creates like a feedback loop. It created a feedback loop in my head where there was this part of me saying, this is so rubbish. Why am I doing this? Let's stop. Let's go and read something I actually enjoy and that engages with me. I'm not going to live forever. Let's spend my time wisely. Let's put this down and stop now. I was within the book's frame of reference enough to judge the idea of stopping, judge the idea of what that would mean if I can't engage with a book I'm not enjoying. Please don't fall into the same trap I did. Don't do it. Don't raise any book onto any kind of pedestal as meaning something if you finish them. To be honest, if you enjoy this book and you finished it and it was amazing, then great. But don't persevere with books you're getting nothing out of, because the idea of finishing a certain book, you only know what that means once you actually engage with the book. When you start engaging with a particular book, no matter what a book it is, and you think this is absolutely rubbish, getting nothing out of it, nothing out of it, and nothing out of it, just stop. Honestly, there's no virtue in suffering. Having a horrible life of suffering and hardship, there's nothing intrinsically good about that. It doesn't make you a better person for that. And I certainly don't think it's worth seeking out books or experiences that are deliberately horrible just for the sake of some kind of adversity, the idea that you're going to grow out of it. You might grow out of adversity, but that doesn't mean you should actually deliberately put yourself through adversity in order to grow. It's not worth it. That's what I did with this silliness. I gaslit myself into thinking that I ought to read it, even though it was absolutely rubbish, thinking I'd get something out of it. I got nothing out of it. It was a complete waste of time, and I urge you not to make the same mistake.